Check. All right, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? That don't sound much like we want to know. How's everybody doing this afternoon? That sound better like that sound more like 1-0 to me. As I always say, it's a pleasure to be in front of you again, and welcome to the 220 Quarterback Club weekly meeting. Thank you all for joining us. We got a packed house. You see what happened when you win, Coach? We're going to bring up Coach a little bit later on, and we're going to hear from him. And Selvin and I are going to try not to steal his glory and say too much about the game. But listen, I have no jokes today. Leroy had a doctor's appointment, so we don't have Leroy. So we'll, if you got a joke and it was never on a Rudy Ray Moore record, we'll take it. But but anyway, once again, thanks for joining us. Today I invited a guest, Al Carter. He's in the back setting up. He is the originator of the Run It Back Cozy t-shirts, and I thought he was going to bring a couple shirts, but if you need one, he has them. The official Run It Back Cozy shirt that Coach Cozy endorses as well. And he is a certified vendor. We're only going to bring people who are certified vendors here because it's very important, because certified vendors mean the university benefits off of those sales. And we have to, I know people have good looking shirts out there, but if it's not certified, all you're doing is lining that person's pocket. You're not helping the university. And we need somebody from licensing here to help you all determine. I know the hologram is one way, but we need to make sure we buy licensed gear that helps our university, that helps our Department of Athletics. Before I bring up Selvin, I'd like to, one of the things Mr. Jackson was adamant about in the $1 million campaign, the Eddie Jackson Memorial $1 million campaign, was that we absolutely needed to reach outside of the people, the small group of rattlers that continue to give. We got great givers in here, but we can only squeeze that lemon so much. And so our goal is going to be to get 10,000 donors to help us to reach this $1 million. So at 10,000 donors, they only have to give $100 a piece. That's what we're going to try to do. And in our board meeting, Al came up with a great idea. He said, hey, let's get with the athletic department and see if we can get it up on the board during some of the games. And I started initial conversation about that, and it appears we may be going in the right direction there, that 2 of our bigger games, we can get that up on the board. But more importantly, everybody in here is like members of our church, which means in a couple of weeks, we're going to give each one of you all that come here 10 envelopes, each one of you. And we're going to charge you to go out and get 10 people to submit $100 to this campaign. And we're going to have to keep spreading that way. Just a few people can't do it. This is going to take a group effort of a lot of rattlers to make it happen. So we'll have the church envelopes in 2 weeks, and we'll designate a day for everybody to bring back the envelopes. And this is the deal. Once you get the envelopes, you're responsible for $1,000. We don't want no empty envelopes coming back. If you get 7 people, well, you need to put $300 in one of them envelopes to make up your $1,000. That's my charge to you. in the spirit of Eddie Jackson. That's my charge to you. We got to get to this million, and this is going to be where we're going to start it. But it can't be completed here. We're going to have to go outside of this room to people to make sure that we can raise enough money so that our athletic department, our student athletes, our coaches can have what they need to be successful. Listen, they needed every dollar we invested into them Saturday. Every single dollar, every meal, every snack, because if you notice, in that second half, who was out of condition and who didn't have the proper nutrition to nourish their bodies? While we keep talking about that, Saturday was a prime example of why we keep talking about the nutrition station. Well, that's important because it's also fluids. And obviously our opponent don't have a 220 quarterback club to support their team, but we do. And we got Rattlers all over who are supporting our athletics department. So that is how we are going to start. That is going to be the basis. Now, there are going to be some people we'll go after for more than $100, but the campaign is 10,000 people to give $100. Now, we got a whole bunch of alumni out there, a whole bunch that bleed orange and green. Well, we just want them to ship some of that green back to FAMU. That's all we ask. And the coolant station that we were able to continue practice. All the things that we do, you saw them in the fact that our team was able to regroup because they had been together this summer with summer school. All of the initiatives that the $1 million campaign are set to bolster for our athletic department, they won't display in front of 1.3 million people, the highest viewership ever for a MEAC SWAC challenge. And also, FAMU has 3 of the 5 top attended MEAC SWAC challenges. They're going to keep questioning our brand, but ESPN know what they're doing. You got other people in the SWAC and MEAC questioning our brand, but the numbers don't lie. So as everybody get prepared and start thinking about who they're going to take their church envelopes to, I'd like to bring up the executive director of the Rattler Booster, Selvin Cobb. The checks will be made out to 220 Quarterback Club, and we'll have it printed on the envelope as well, all of the information. Yes, sir. He said, what is the goal and how will it be reached? I mean, what is the goal of the distribution once we get it done? This is how we need to help our athletic department. I worked there before, and I can tell you the athletic department, whoever comes in as the new leader is going to need to be able to decide where those priorities are. We have some things that we're going to do. We're definitely going to assist with family relays. We've talked to the track coach. We've got to bring the family relays back. So we're going to assist with the family relays. We're going to continue to provide the cooling center. We've got to continue our nutrition year round, and we need to get up to that number that Coach Forney challenged us to get up to, because that helps all of the other teams as well. It includes summer school. So after those core things that we support annually, the remainder will be discretionary for the leader of the athletic department, because they will know what is the dire need of the whole department. Any other questions? Okay. So.
Good evening, everybody. I had a whole list of items that I was going to bring, that I was going to remind you all of, but I left it home. But first thing we're going to do is Bill, raise your hand. Melody, raise your hand. I know you're busy, but Bill would always tell me that you need to remind people of Rattler dues. You need to tell them where to send the money to and how they go online and get the dues and how much, what level they want to participate in. Well, that's the first thing we're going to do today. Uh, some people have not paid their Rattler dues yet, and we just want to announce to you that they can go online. They can go to www.rattlerboosters.com. You can go online and join right there. Or if you're old school and you want to send us a check, we'll take a check and you could send it to rattlerboosters.com. That's a post office box 5865, Tallahassee, Florida, and 32314 is the zip code. So those are how you can become a member of the Rattler Boosters. The second thing that I want to remind you of is that we scored 24 points, 24 points on Saturday. Well, I am going to write a check out for $24 because I'm going to pay $1 for every point that we scored. Coach, I'm waiting till we get to be 100. So I want to stand here and thank Cole Forney. Cole, if you don't know, Cole Forney is the strength and conditioning coach. As one thing that everybody that watched the game saw is that our players were in condition. And I want to just give him a hand. Um, so that's my token for this week, and hopefully I can write for a higher check next week. Okay. Yeah. Oh, the coach said me too. All right. Okay. Um, the other thing that I want to remind you all of is especially for those people who are coming in from out of town, but most people around here already know that we have a Rattler, I guess we call it Rattler Roundup. It's what we call a Rattler Roundup. And it's going to be at the Holiday Inn on Friday, starts at 6 o'clock. You're only going to keep you to 10 o'clock. But there are Appalachia Parkway, Holiday Inn, Appalachia Parkway. The same place that it was last year. Thanks, Leo. After and we got just a ton of prizes that we're going to be giving out. It's going to be a great time for you to come in and meet all the rattlers from out of town and reacquainted with the people that's in town. We're going to have a 50-50 raffle where 50% of the money that's raised will be going to you first of all, and the other 50% is going to nutrition because that's the goal that we set out for. So come in, enjoy a great time, and let's cheer our team on to victory. Okay? Yes.
I noticed that you're asking people to pay the dues every year for the to join you.
Boosters. Mhm.
But I need you to encourage people to become and show them how to become lifetime members. Push it, push it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. To become a lifetime member, all you have to do is write one check for $750. $750, and you would have become a lifetime member of the Rattler Boosters. Or you could pay a $250 three times, and that's called a subscribing life member for 3 years. Okay? Now, what I didn't tell you is that we still have a Venom Club member, where you get a polo, you get a license plate, and you get a car tag and all those things for $300. And we have a regular member, which is $100. It's just a regular member that you pay. So those are the three levels of membership that we have. Okay. So we'll look to see everybody on the, well, let me remind you one other thing. And that is on Friday at, we have our convocation, and we will have a, I guess you would call it a school, well, not a school, but it would be rather, well, we have assembly at Lee Hall. So if you want to come out Friday, I think it's at President's Convocation at 10 till. Okay, so we want to remind everybody to if you want to come out to the convocation at 10 on Friday, come out and we will come to the presidential convocation. It's Lawson Center. Lawson Center. Did I say Lawson Center? Oh, did I say Lee Hall? Oh man, I'm hey. I, okay. All right. Okay. I repeat it one more time. Did I get it? Okay. It's gonna be you didn't hear that. I'm gonna say it one more time. It's at the Lawson Center, Friday at 10:10. Come early so you get a good seat. All right. Questions? Okay. I hear you. You can get an application from you can get an application from me. Or you can get that table next to you. You didn't have any? Well, you can come up here, and Melody got one. I guarantee you, she got one. She got a whole Melody got a whole envelope full of applications. So there you go. We'll get one for you. Okay? We got one coming. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, go ahead. The $1 million campaign. Yes. We you are absolutely right. Mr. Jackson did ask every member um, here to donate $1,000 to the Eddie Jackson Memorial $1 million campaign. And so we will, like I said, some people we will contact directly. But as far as the overall goal, we also got to get tremendously more people giving. They got to get in the habit of giving. We got just too few. Is that number about 7%, Mr. Mitchell? Like 7% of our alumni give. Yeah, yeah, we got to get a bigger number of people getting in the habit of donating back to our university. Al, can you bring one of those shirts up? Bring some of those shirts up here. Before we bring Coach Cozy up, I'm gonna bring Al Carter from Real Words Apparel, and I got me a set of these shirts, and they're great quality. And he's a licensed vendor, and this is the official Run It Back Cozy T-shirt. And the color this week is white, and I told him to make sure he bring plenty of white. Al, they said, well, listen, he give me shirts, they got to have big ones. Big and tall, yeah. I'm both of them. I'll be Vanna White. I'll hold it up while you talk.
Good evening, and I would like to say thank you for the invite, first of all. means a lot to me, and most of you all I've seen around. I am privileged to be a licensed vendor, and being a licensed vendor means that all of my stuff is tagged to let you know that it's official and it's approved through the university. Being that a percentage, 12% to be exact, goes back for every shirt that is sold to the university. And we're trying to be a landmark here on the campus. We have great comfort and durability. I guarantee you, when you put on one of my shirts, you might not want nobody else's, just to be honest with you. Okay. They feel that great. And thank you so much for that compliment. And I do have them available for you in the back. I didn't bring any of the snakeskin. I have the snakeskin shirts in 1887, as well as we have them with the big F on them. We will be set up this weekend in a couple different places. One will be by the stadium. The second will be out on Althea Gibson Way. Everybody's still saying Warnish Way, but I'm gonna call it the correct thing. Okay. All right. Thank you for your time. And I'm in the back. Shirts are only $23. They can go to realwordsapparel.com. Instagram, we are at Real Words Apparel. On X, which is Twitter, we are Real Words App. So we are available for you. RealWordsApparel. Real Words Apparel. All right. Thank you for your time. And again, thank you for the invite.
And he's going to be here at the end so that we can make sure everyone has time to get back there and see him, because the color for Saturday is white. Color for Saturday is white. We don't want to upset Rhea, so everybody please wear white on Saturday. She's real particular about that. It's our former cheerleader who is over the marketing and promotions, and I'm just actually being funny. At this time, without further delay, hold on, Selvin, I need you to introduce the coach so I can play his walk-up music, all right?
Okay, all right. Once the music starts, I will introduce. James Cozy the third.
Hey, to hear y'all saying, come on, Rattlers.
Good afternoon. I guess before I give the game recap, I kind of want to know what was going on at Lee Hall that you had to bring up into the meeting this afternoon. I think we should talk about Lee Hall before we talk about what happened on Saturday. You perked up a lot of people when you mentioned Lee Hall, and not because it was the wrong place. I promise you. Hey, behind, around. Thank you. I apologize for coming. When I came in, I normally go around the place, the building, and make sure I say hello to everybody before I go eat. But I was told I better eat before I go say hello to everybody, because somebody was gonna sneak behind me and maybe get the last of the food. But obviously, excited to be 1-0. You know, you mentioned the ability of the BRZ, the ability having the nutrition station. And believe it or not, I mean, a lot of people fail to realize that when we saw them down, we saw them needing attention. Trust me when I tell you, it was talked about. It wasn't necessarily motivation, but it was just a conscious reminder to our guys that, you know, we do it the right way. You know, it was 78 degrees, and the people that were in Atlanta, you know, the weather, it wasn't too hot, but you know, there was some humidity, right? But you know, practicing what we practice, how we practice, the ability to rehabilitate our bodies, the ability to make sure we have the proper nourishment. Trust me, played a huge part in allowing us to pull out this victory. Now, I will say this: I will never ever, and I mean this, I will never ever come up here and talk about damn adversity ever again. That you can believe. I am not even going to use the word anymore, in here at least. You know, but obviously we got what we wanted. You know, we won, right? We won, and you go up there and you play you don't play well, right? You don't play well, but you win, right? And what would tell you, right, that you know we got a very very good football team, and even though we did not play as well as we needed, we had an opportunity. And I know you guys, just like myself, when we fumbled the football, you know, late, you know, on that drive, we were getting ready to put them away. You know, we were getting ready to put them away, and so you know, but right, that A word again struck his ugly head, and you know, gave them the chance to, you know, 24-23, and we obviously they decided to go for two, and then we stopped them, and that ends up being the final game. But I think it's important to note that last year when we played Jackson State, you know, in the fourth quarter, our offense took the field, and they ran the entire clock out. Right, we didn't even give them an opportunity. We didn't give an opportunity for Jackson State to get the ball back in the fourth quarter. Well, now same situation arises where we get the ball back, 6 minutes left in the game, and our last play of that quarter was victory, right? And you know, meaning that we as a group did exactly what we expected to do as far as situation goes. When you get yourself in that situation, we have the football. We want to make sure that the other team does not get it. So, you know, again, conscious effort from our team, conscious effort from our guys working the situations that we work training camp. Now, offensively, we call that the 4-minute. We call that the 4-minute drill. It just happened to turn into the 6-minute and 20-minute drill. Uh, but uh, but fortunately, they gave us the opportunity. And you know, a lot of calls were made, a lot of big plays were made. But believe it or not, during that drive, the call that wasn't made is ultimately the call that we ended up winning the football game with. And let me explain. You know, we were deep. It was about 3rd and 2, and we were getting ready to run a play. We called timeout. We're getting ready to run a play, and then Coach Henry and myself, you know, we had a discussion about what to do. You know, we were thinking about what play to run, what run a pass, run the ball. Well, the bottom line was we weren't going to run a play at all. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to see if we could draw them off sides. So if we didn't draw them off sides the first time, right, then we were going to go that next. We were going to go and let Jamari Gassett go in motion, and then ultimately they did what? They jumped off sides. So we actually, to be honest with you, Dr. Walker, we didn't even have a play called. Like we weren't even going to do anything. You know what I mean? And so we didn't get the first one, and if we didn't get the second one, I was going to call timeout, and then we were going to run a play. So obviously, right, they jump off sides. It gives us the what? It gives us the first down. They only had one timeout left, you know, to their dismay, and that's why we ended up in the victory situation. So believe me, we didn't even the play that ultimately won us the game. Some was the play we didn't have. We didn't run. So you know, but again, we our quarterback Daniel Richardson stepped into the huddle, explained to them exactly what we were going to do. All right, everybody understood exactly what the assignment was. We had to tell the center, don't snap the ball. All right, we're not running the play. Right, don't snap the ball. We're not running the play. So he said he got it. Right, and ultimately it turned out. You didn't know that, Vaughn, did you? You didn't know that, did you? It didn't run. We didn't. So he, you know, Joe. I said, Joe, hey, look, we're gonna don't snap the ball. You know, do this, do that. He goes, well, we're gonna run uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. What is that? I mean, what? How about just don't run the play? Well, there's, you know, you got to get into a formation, right? You got to get into a set. So he went through all of his jargon as far as what they do offensively. And obviously, ultimately, you saw them jump off sides, and then we had the ability to get ourselves into the victory formation. Now, I know we have a lot of questions. I'll just kind of give you a little bit of what happened during the game, and then I'm prepared to hear or listen to whatever question we may have. So defensively, obviously, first half, we felt Norfolk State was going to do some different things on offense as opposed to what they did. Right? You have I told you this before, new offensive coordinator, right? They came in and remember that you guys remember what university he came from? Remember I said to you guys he came from Alcorn State, right? And so we watched a bunch of we were watching to prepare for them. Well, how many people know that they didn't run anything that Alcorn State did? I mean, not we have these routes called vert drives. They got the shallow crosses, the mesh routes. You know how many times they ran a vert drive Saturday night? 0. Shallow cross route, 0. Mesh routes, 0. All right. So, we spent a lot of time preparing for an opponent, right, that ultimately came out and changed some of the things that they did. So, it's and that happens, right? So, what I want you to understand, and I know you guys do, but our staff had to, people that were at the game, who was at the game? Who saw us at the game? Who was behind our bench? If you can raise your hand. Okay, so if you saw us behind the bench, like I even had to sit down and start drawing some stuff just to make sure we were squared away, right? Our coordinator, we had a big group around us, just trying to make sure we were, hey, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? Just so we can make sure we were making the proper changes, right? So as the head coach, normally I'm walking down the sidelines. Well, we were having some defensive issues, right? I had to sit down, make sure we were on the same page. Our defensive coordinator, Coach Patterson, did a heck of a job of making sure we got those changes in. And you actually got a really, really good glimpse of what our defense is like, right? That end of that second, that third, and then that fourth quarter. So, that's ultimately defensively had some different things they did. We had to make some adjustments, right? And we made those adjustments to help us get the victory. Offensively, same thing applies, right? We were expecting them to be run a bunch of man. They didn't run any man. They ran a lot of zone, right? So we thought we were going to be able to run the football on them. Well, they put they kind of hugged the line a little bit on us, right? So, again, right, different, no problem. Coach Henry, our offensive coordinator, made the proper adjustments. I love the fact that when we got down 14-0, we had the ability to score a touchdown. I mentioned to them, good teams answer, right? Really, really good football teams answer. So, we got it under control, 14-7, which them scoring allowed us defensively to give our opportunity to make whatever adjustments or make whatever changes that we needed to make. Now, I will say this, Norfolk State, a team that came back with 18 to 19 starters, right? Coach Odoms obviously was a guy who had a lot of success at Southern and had a lot of success at a lot of different places, okay? They had the momentum. And if you ask them that the game was going to be 24-23, low scoring game, they would have taken that, right, 100 times out of 100. So they got the kind of game they wanted, right? They got the kind of game, being able to run the football, slowing the game down. They got everything that they wanted in this football game, except the most important thing, which is the win. Right. So, what did it show our team? You know what? Right. I will say this again, if you're at the game and had a chance to watch our sideline, nobody panicked. We got down 14-0. Yep. Hey, we got to get together. We got to do this, got to do that. Nobody panicked. All right. I didn't panic. Right. Fans panicked a little bit, and I'm with you. All right. I'm with you, man. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm with you. Right? Yeah. What the heck is Cozy doing down there? You know what I mean? But it did show you what kind of team you guys have. I will say it again, a lot of new people, right? A lot of new faces on this football team. We asked, it showed our depth because some of the guys that, we were hoping to play well didn't necessarily have the game that they liked, right? It showed that, we do have other linebackers, other defensive linemen, other running backs, other receivers. We lost a couple linemen early in the game, so we just put another 2 offensive linemen, and they just clicked like it was like they were the first team offensive linemen. So, we showed it was the ultimate team effort, right? Guys took the coaching. We went into halftime, made the adjustment we needed to make, And again, like I said, we won the football game, not necessarily maybe the way we did. I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna take it, and we did our corrections Sunday night, right? We had the day off Monday, and then Tuesday, and ultimately Tuesday morning, and this past morning, we've been all about South Carolina State, right? And the guys are excited about playing at home, having the opportunity. Pep rally Thursday, convocation Friday. We play Saturday evening. I know the color for the day is gonna be white. But as long as it's white, green, orange, right, and it says FAMU on it, I'm extremely happy to make sure I see everyone out there on Saturday afternoon slash Saturday evening. All right, they're gonna come in with a good football team. All right, they're gonna be disciplined. All right, new team, new coordinators. All right, there will be a little bit of some unknown, but I can assure you, as we've showed in Saturday, if it doesn't look like the way it's supposed to look, we'll make the proper adjustments to make sure we are playing the way FAMU Rattlers are supposed to play. I'm open for any questions they may have.
Coach, after we realized that
How many do you have today? 2. Okay. I just got to prepare myself.
all right. Question 1.
Yes, sir.
When we realized that conditioning would be a factor in that ball game, we realized that. Why didn't we open up the field, make the field wider, use the entire field, run them more with the swing passes and things of that nature?
Well, believe it or not, during that drive, it was 24-17, right? And that's when they were kind of having their issues. Well, we were running a specific set on offense, right? We had our extra offensive lineman in the game, so we were running a specific set, and we didn't necessarily want to get out of that set, right? So if you notice, we got up 7, and we were slowly but surely going down the field, and we did what we needed to do. That fumble, right then, that hurt us a little bit, and believe me, Kelvin Dean, one of our veterans, potential all-conference player. I mean, you couldn't have told me that we were getting ready to go up. We weren't going to get ready to go up 31-17, right? So we obviously we call it going gas, but we were just getting chunks and chunks. So we wanted to make sure we were good with what we were calling. Right? We have to keep in mind, right? We got some new people in there, right? New quarterback. Didn't necessarily want to need to pressure him, right? And technically the last time we did put a little pressure on him was right before the half. And we didn't make the proper decisions that we needed to make right before the half. So there was you rush teams because you think you're trying to surprise them. We didn't need to surprise them. We had just gone 40, 50 yards, and I'll be darned. We were getting ready to score a touchdown, and we were gonna once we got up 2 touchdowns. It's not gonna end the way they thought it would have ended. So
now my other question.
Yes, sir.
A true freshman.
Yes, sir.
Is there any chance of a true freshman coming in playing, not just for us, but for any schools now with the transfer portal?
I mean, if they're good enough, right? You mean playing for FAMU, or you just
playing FAMU this year, true freshman.
It's not necessarily because of his youth. I'll be honest with you. It's not necessarily because he's going to be 18 or 19 years old. There's just a lot more going on, right? You got guys that are here for the summer. I mean, you got guys training you got guys having an entire offseason from January to April, right? Then you got guys that have been here all summer to train, right? So that true freshman is going to be missing all of that, right? Now, if this guy's good enough to do it, we'll play him, But the likelihood of that, especially at our level, right? At our level, right? We have guys 24, 25 years old right now, and then expecting this kid who's 17, who possibly turned 18, or he just turned 18 once he got there, it'll be tough. Now, again, if we can find one, that's great. I mean, trust me, we'll play him. But there's just so much that's going on for that 18-year-old to get here and play, but he has missed so much. Right, that's the only thing I will say. I mean, there's a couple guys that are probably in the city right now they're extremely talented, but now they got to learn an offensive playbook or a defensive playbook, and then also understand what it takes to be a university student athlete.
Was it just obvious to people watching on television that they were holding, but they weren't calling it?
Well, I I'll I'll say this.
Coach just here so that you don't get fined.
Yeah. We don't argue with the referees.
We're not allowed to, he's not allowed to
Yeah.
criticize calls.
We don't argue with the referees. They didn't call it. That means it wasn't a flag. Now we'll say this. You guys asked me about penalties. We only had 5 this past Saturday. We only had 5. We had no holding calls, right? We had no holding calls. So I mean, so I thought overall we were pretty disciplined as far as the flags went. I'll say this. I'd rather have officials that don't call anything compared to the ones that call everything. So if they had 5, we had 5, that means they let us play, right? And I get on officials as a former official, or as an official, right? It's great to leave them alone sometimes, right? So like I said, we had 5, they had 5. I actually thought it was a well called football game on Saturday. Okay.
Coach, online, Marcus asked, there was a lot of shuffling in the offensive line between the first stringers and the second string. Was that due to injury or production or keeping the guys fresh?
When we spoke as a staff Saturday morning, we had what we call them the player meetings. And in the player meetings, I asked each coach how many guys are going to play. You got your starters, right? But in that meeting, I want to know, as the offensive line guy, right? So who's our 6th offensive lineman, right? Who's our 7th offensive lineman? And when exactly are you planning to get them in the game? So mainly shuffling, and we did have a little bit of a minor injury with somebody, but Jalen Goss, the All-American, didn't start Saturday. I mean, this tells you the kind of depth. The guy was an All-American. He was an all-conference offensive lineman for us in 2022. He's the one that got hurt, right? He got hurt and missed the entire season. He didn't start. But that's who we put in as a guy who can play. So our offensive linemen, we normally going to play about 8 or 9 of them because that's how many we feel have the opportunity to help us. So, a lot of our positions, you might have saw some guys in, but I've said this before, our plan is to play a lot of players. We have a lot. I don't want a whole lot of guys on the sidelines, oohing and ahhing because they're not playing. When if they deserve the opportunity to play, we will play them.
Okay, yes. Coach, I think you answered one of my questions with Jalen Goss.
Yes.
I was wondering if he was injured. I noticed he was walking the sideline and he didn't start and didn't come into the game later on.
He's been dealing with some nagging injuries right now, but the guys that are in front of him, they're playing well. Okay. We've rewarded some of the guys during training camp that did a great job. Believe me when I say JG, we call him JG. JG's one of the best offensive linemen, not just on our team, but in the conference, in the country. So
came in, he stayed in.
Yeah,
so I guess he worked out his wrinkle or whatever.
Say it one more time to the people in the back. Say it one more time.
But he came in, he stayed in.
There you go. Okay. There you go.
The other one was when Boss Man had mentioned that. I think we have a freshman that's Somerset.
Yes, sir.
I think this was his first game starting. So I think once he shake it up, I think we got a freshman that's going to be remarkable.
Well, he was with us last year. He was with us the entire year. So he's a redshirt freshman. So he was here the entire year for us. He went through spring practice, was here the entire summer, dedicated himself, did a good job, and I want to say I know he did. He actually took the first handoff of the football game. Yeah.
Yeah, Coach. Now,
Yes.
We got some dogs up front.
Yes, sir.
On that offensive line.
We do.
I played offensive line.
Yes, sir. I couldn't tell.
And I respect them.
I couldn't tell.
And I truly respect those guys.
Yes, sir.
What did they do? Because I was a little surprised that they slowed us down running the first half. What did they do to slow us down like that with the offensive line that we had?
I will say they did what we didn't do as defensively. They stayed in their gaps and they let their linebackers flow. If you watch our game, we were kind of getting out of gaps, not allowing our linebackers to flow. So, we weren't running the counters, and we were running some stretches, some inside zones, right? And as long as if you stay in your gap, you're going to be pretty sound. So, kudos to them, right? I thought they did a good job with what they were going to do, but cream rose to the top, right? We started putting our counters in, our powers in, things of that nature, started moving them around a little bit, and that's why we had the success that we did. But they stayed in their gaps. played sound football, got us to third down, and then we didn't get off. We had to get off the field because we didn't execute on third down. So I mean, we got down 14-0 first two drives, right? But they did a good job. I mean, I'm always gonna give credit to the opponent. I thought Coach Odom did a really, really good job of getting his guys ready, and they took away a couple of things that we like to do. Again, they watched our film and did a good job. And but we were able to do some stuff later because we saw what they had done to us in the beginning.
Coach, there is hold it, man. Just some history that I think is important for us to know. In the SWAC MEAC Challenge, the MEAC has won 11 games, SWAC has won 6. That includes the one that we just won. In the Celebration Bowl, the MEAC has won 6 games, and the SWAC has won 2. That includes the one that we just won. So we just got into the SWAC, and right now we're the baddest dog in this fight. And so that's just a little history. Secondly, I know that there was great consternation when we went down 14-0, and I couldn't talk for 2 days after I got back here Saturday night because I drove back, and I'm not lying, I couldn't talk. And I'm asking all of you all, when we are down, stand up and cheer. Don't, we stand up when we score a touchdown. But boy, when that defense is in a dog fight, they need to stand up and cheer for them. And don't stop until we get the ball back. All right, that's history. Last little bit of history is Norfolk State rushed for 227 yards on us.
Yep.
But they were held by a dark cloud of defense for a crucial 1.5 yards, which if they had made it, they would have been 2 points ahead.
Yep.
So hats off to coach.
Thanks.
Hats off to the team. And although we won the game by 1 point, and I know that there was some disappointing folks up there, we went up there, as I recall, Coach, and I think I sent you a text message at about 4:30 that morning. We had many goals in this game, but the primary goal was to win. We didn't have a point value that we needed to win by. We didn't have an embarrassment factor that we need to impel on the other team. We needed a victory. So I don't have any complaints. If you win every game this year by 1 point, we'll be national championship teams again.
Yeah. Thank you. And Vaughn, help me with this now, because correct me if I'm wrong. I was looking at some of the games, in the past, right? So FAMU went there and won a MEAC SWAC challenge as a MEAC school. Now there was I won't say who the other schools that were MEAC. They were MEAC at the time, and then they had won. Now they had won games in the MEAC, but they are now in the SWAC.
We're the only one that has won on both sides.
I thought
Earl Holmes was head coach in 2007. We beat Mississippi Valley down in the Citrus Bowl. I remember because it was 130 degrees on the turf.
Right.
And with Saturday's victory, we won it as a SWAC.
As a SWAC team. Okay. I thought there was one other school. Maybe. Okay. You're right.
Samuel Gilbert says he's going to join Selvin in donating $1 for each point.
There you go.
Sam Dixie says he's sorry he couldn't be with us. Sam hates to miss. What's up, Steve Campbell? He says, great job on the discipline of the team.
Thank you.
And that was a big point. And Kirkland Floyd says, why defer to the second half? Here's the question that came after.
Oh, well, we won the toss. And we always want the defense to go out first. If you watch the kickoff, we kicked the ball and they returned it to the 9. So we actually got what we wanted. It just, obviously during that drive they ended up scoring. But you always, my history, or I've always just deferred as a defensive guy. I always like for the defense to go out there first. Now that's that. Now if you look at it, we did that, but in the second half, who got the ball first? We did, and then we went down and then scored. So that's just my defense first for me.
I'm a public relations person. And so in that, this is your first, your first luncheon
Yes, ma'am.
for the season. And I was attempting to introduce to you our legendary supporters. And since Lloyd Cobb asked you the question, I was going to introduce you to him and to others. That's Lloyd Cobb, raise your hand, and his wife, who Ella, who yes, great financial supporter, and he and his wife comes up every home game from North Carolina.
There you go.
And they have the largest RV. And this is Walt Bellamy. Wait, Bellamy. And Dorothy from Fort Myers, Bradenton, Florida.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's the legendary Hall of Famer.
Yes, sir. Meet you, sir.
Basketball coach. And they come up every home game.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
EA asked the question online that says, was the voice they just heard the guy that be yelling, what do we want, TD? That was the voice, EA, online. That was him.
Hey, Coach,
Yes, sir.
Concerning the front floor, and we were talking about the holding. Now, a lot of times when you're holding, when you're being held, if the defensive linemen make a little bit more of an effort,
Yes, sir.
to get off of those blocks, they will get those holding calls.
Yes, sir.
That's one of the things I was just a teeny bit disappointed in.
Right.
That a lot of the guys seem to accept those blocks without making that effort to get off those blocks.
Well, majority of the time when they call holding calls, if it affects the play, and just as you mentioned, you have to be appearing that you're trying to make a play to then be held, right? So, I was on the big run, the first one, it didn't really have anything to do with holding. We weren't lined up correctly, right? So Norfolk State, and I'll give a little football jargon. They were giving us what they call unbalanced front. So we were getting an unbalanced front. So when you get an unbalanced front, that means the D line now has to, we call it a new center. They have to move over and make the guard and treat him like he's a center. Well, we weren't doing that. So then we weren't lined up correctly. And then they had these two big jokers that were pulling around, right? And if you remember the run, it looks like we did not have enough to that side. So we didn't have enough. So the only person who had the opportunity to make the tackle was Kendall Bowler, right? And he was getting blocked, right? So, you got to start right, to at least finish right. You know what I mean? So that was the first one. The second one, we had a similar situation. We were moving. I thought we were just moving too much. So we just went to the basics, right? We just gonna line up and we just gonna play on our gaps, right? Let the linebackers flow, and the push come to shove. The safeties have to make tackles. They did that. So it was an alignment on the first one. The second one, we were stunting. He got pushed out of the gap. So like I said, we went back to the basics and ultimately did a much better job going back to the basics as opposed to what we may have been doing in the beginning of the game. Yes, sir.
We got one more question online we're going to do, and then we're going to have time for 3 more questions because Ms. Jackson has to do the presentation of the players of the week as selected by Coach. EG says the offense looks really good. Are we going to take more advantage of those amazing tight ends?
Well, we got 3 of the best, right? I mean, and all 3 of those guys could go to another school and be a first team all conference. So, JP Pruitt, Kobe Gross, Carter Johnson, all guys that, we started the game. And if you guys watched the game or not, I mean, maybe you recognize it or did, I don't know. But we actually started the game with our 3 tight ends on the field, right? We went 3 tights. We had all 3. So when you look at that alignment, we started the first play of the game. We went with 3 tight ends. So really, and we put them out there because they block and catch extremely well. So, we had a big catch from our tight end in that last drive. It was 2nd and 20. He went and got 22. Obviously Kobe Gross, he likes to jump over everybody. So, Everybody knows who that is. And then to me, our most athletic tight end was JP Pruitt. And we need to get him more involved as well. So, the best thing about those tight ends is they do both well, catch and block, and that makes us equally effective in the pass and the run game. So, JP assured me that he was going to get some yardage. So that means with me telling him that means I need to assure him he was going to get the ball. So he thought he thought he knew what he was doing, but I knew what he was trying to do. Right. So, but either way, I mean, you look at our offense, 24 points is not the goal. The goal is 30. Now, since we got people writing checks, we're gonna start running up the score if we need to. We're writing checks on points. Right. But either way, the goal is 30 points a game. That's what we want to be at. We feel if we can get 30 points a game, ultimately we have a really, really good chance of winning the football game. So we want to be at 30. So that's what we shoot for. And again, if we don't necessarily, have that fumble that hurt us in the fourth, we're sitting at about 31 points, which means we would have met our goal. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, Coach. Good game, good adjustments you made, and I think.
Well, I didn't make. Don't.
Well,
I mean,
I think
we
that
did it as a staff because
the staff.
I got a staff meeting there too. They're gonna be looking at me like I'm crazy. We did it collectively as a staff, and I always want to give them credit. Man, they did it.
Right.
Okay, defensively did it together. Offensively, obviously, I had some input in what we were trying to do, but I'm never ever going to take away from what my staff does. Believe me when I say that. But I do get what you're saying.
Yeah. A good decision on the quarterback that you picked to start the game. But I'm kind of concerned about the back of the defense, the linebackers and the safeties. Looked like they was playing a little quick.
Yeah.
Like they was moving.
Yep.
Because in the beginning of the game, the linebacker was shooting their gaps before they see where the ball was going. So I think you slowed that down a little bit in the second half, which contributed to stopping some of their running game. But I think that's something we need to be concerned with in the future.
Well, when you give up the runs that we gave up early, right? So the linebackers weren't the linebackers who depend on the defensive line, right? The DBs depend on the linebackers. So defensive line wise, we were giving up some runs. So now the linebackers are sitting there. Hold up now. Do I trust this guy in front of me? Right. So we weren't playing assignment football like we normally play. So the linebackers weren't trusting the D linemen. So the linebackers thought they had to be what? They had to be fast. DBs behind the linebackers. They're seeing the linebackers playing fast, right? So now they think they have to be fast. We have a saying in our defensive room, we're going to make the guy in front of us right. We're going to make him right. So, defensive lineman goes left, linebackers need to go right, then the DBs need to fade off of the linebackers, right? And that's pretty easy to say, but we weren't playing assignment football, right? So Deco Wilson, for an example, one time he plays safety, one of the best safeties in the conference, right? He felt there was a time he's like, I got outside, right? But then one time he decided, you know what? We gave up a couple runs inside, so I'm going to peek inside. Well, guess where the ball ended up going? Outside. Well, he's not dependent on trusting his teammates. You know what I mean? So that's, again, guys got to play assignment football. Do your job. Don't try to do somebody else's. Oh, you mean offensively? No, I mean that's just part of our offense. I don't think Coach Henry even knew or realized what they were doing to us on offense. That's just part of our defense, right? We're gonna try you on the inside zone. We're gonna try you with our stretch plays. If you stop us there, then we're gonna start doing some powers. If you stop us on that, we'll bring some counters back the other way. So that's just part of our run game. Yeah.
Coach.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, by the way.
Hello. First thing, congratulations.
Thank you.
Secondly, I couldn't watch the game in my living room. I had to go to my prayer room.
Okay.
And watch the game. And serious prayer room. Me and the man had a long talk. And I'm glad you pulled it off. You all pulled it off. couple things. One of my strongest pet peeve is discipline. And you did pretty good the first game with discipline, but I saw a couple plays in there where a couple players kind of woofing back at each other. We don't want anybody thrown out of the game. They got to calm it down.
Okay.
Walk away. They make a bigger man if they walk away. Now, but if they want to take the other person, want to take the helmet off and want to fight, then you got to go get it.
I thought we were talking about discipline now.
Now,
The helmet falls off. Now we can go get him.
Well, that's how you discipline them.
I thought when the helmet fell off, he's supposed to walk away.
No, but seriously, yeah, they really need to just shake it off and walk away. But overall, I enjoyed the quarterback. I was glad to see that he wasn't afraid to run. I know the quarterback has to stay back most times, but I'm glad to see when we don't have when we have a quarterback that's not afraid to run. And there's several other things I saw, but I won't take up too much time. But overall, I appreciate the game. I'm glad it was a win.
Yes.
And we are going to keep winning.
Yes, ma'am.
Like he said, if it's just 1 point, as long as it's a win,
Right.
we going all the way.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Coming right here.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank
Gene
you.
Thomas with the Atlanta chapter.
Yes,
We
sir.
got a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Is Take expecting to have a chance to play on the other side of the boulder? Tate.
He's one of our highlighted corners.
Mhm.
You know, we have about 6 or 7 guys right now that ultimately can play. He's got an opportunity. He's got a good week of practice, but he's probably right now in our 4th or 5th corner range as far as getting ready to play. Now he did a great job on special teams. It was technically like his first time on the field since he got hurt before he came to us, right? So you want to try to move him in gradually. He'll be a guy that will be each week we'll expect more and more from.
Okay. Thoughts on loading the box on run heavy teams?
I mean, we did that. I mean, we were out there in base, right? We were out there with our base defense. We're personnel based, and we, in my opinion, we had the box stacked, right? We just weren't lined up correctly and flowing properly. So, we got to be responsible for the receivers that are out there. But we just needed to be in the beginning of the game. Ultimately, we're probably not even talking about the yards we give up if we line up correctly. We didn't line up. I mean, you look at the film and you look at the back of it. Our tackles and our ends were lined. They should have been where that run was at. We should have been on that side as opposed to our nose and our end. It should have been our tackle in the 3, our end in the 5. If we get that and then they start pulling people, we got enough people over there. We didn't have that on Saturday early in the game.
Okay, last question. How did y'all grade the old lineman out this weekend?
I think Joe had him over at about an 83 or 84%. He gives him a lot of kudos for not having any holding calls, right? But Joe, for our sake, he would have wished that we would have established the run earlier than before, as opposed to when we were doing in the third, in the fourth quarter. But he's probably he had him in the low 80s. For most of our offensive linemen, when we have really, really good games, they're in that high 80, low 90 range. So, plus, we had a couple that didn't finish the game, right? That were some starters where maybe our numbers would have been a little bit higher as well. But,
Okay, Coach, again, congratulations. One comment and probably a concern. So when we make it back to Atlanta, December 14th for the
Yes, sir.
Celebration Bowl,
yes, sir.
let's not go down by 14 points because a lot of us in here have high blood pressure pills, okay?
Coach, you don't have to answer that. The last comment they'll answer comes from online, and they're asking, what do you see in South Carolina State?
Well, we finally got a depth chart, which is what's a plus. We get a chance to analyze who they have. Coach Barry, again, a guy who's had a bunch of success at a couple of different levels. Had a lot of success at Benedict College, which is where he was last year. They went 13-1 and won the SIAC by a lot of points. But I'll say this: he's a lot of those guys that he had at Benedict are now playing at South Carolina State. So, we have the ability to watch those guys. We have the ability to grade them out. They're gonna be hard nosed, hard nosed. They're gonna they're gonna get to the football. They want to run the football, right? When you play a game and you don't necessarily have the success that you wanted, the other team's gonna come in. What do you think South Carolina State's gonna come in and do? They're gonna give us unbalance. They're gonna run the counters. They're gonna run the powers, and until we stop them, all right, or do better with it, right? But historically for him, he wants to run the ball, keep the game close, not have any penalties, and then hopefully make have the opportunity to win at the end. So our job, we want to get out fast, offensively, and take advantage of maybe some of the guys that they have on the football team. We don't lose that brag. And everywhere is what? Everywhere is brag. So appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach. Coach made me feel good Saturday, right after the press conference. I mean, it ended at what, like 1:30 in the morning? It was so late. But on his way out the door, he said, I'll see you Wednesday. I was like, so he's got the message to be here for you all. Want to remind you all that Real Words Apparel is in the back. Support him. He's got some really good shirts. For those online, you're welcome to do your contribution. The Cash App is on the screen. Within 2 weeks, everyone in here will have your church envelopes. And we're going to put this thing into overdrive, and we're going to have a QR code so you can donate as well. So if somebody wants to do theirs electronically, you can tell them to flip that envelope over, and they can do theirs right now, but then you fill in that, make sure they fill in their name and their information so that we can add them to our mailing list within the next 2 weeks as well. For all of those who signed up to giving us their information, you'll start getting a newsletter from us that'll keep you updated on what we're doing. And also, don't forget, they brought some extra fruit, so everybody make sure you take some fruit with you. Make sure you go see Real Words Apparel. Is there anything else? Miss Jackson's got to come up. Miss Jackson, she's got to give away the Players of the Week awards. She sponsored the awards this week. This is our CEO, Jackson.
Hello, Rattlers. Any rattlers in the house? Some years ago, my Eddie, and somebody reminded me that it is our Eddie, started this awarding, recognizing the outstanding players of the game. So we wanted to continue this. So in his honor today, you may notice I'm wearing his favorite hat. Thank you. But so we are recognizing the defensive player. Coach, come on and get him. So hopefully one of these days we can get the players here, but they're in class. So this is the defensive player, and it says MEAC Challenge ATLGA 82424. Defensive MVP Nayron Jenkins. And what's his number?
45.
45. Okay, number 45. Watch out for him. The offensive player says the same thing, but his name is Janik Ogunlade. And what's his number?
He was number 71. No, excuse me. What's John's number? 73. He was our starting offensive lineman, and it was his first start. So it was his first start of the game. So
all right.
First start of the year.
Okay. And this is special teams and says the same thing, but this is Jamari Gassett. And I know we know who that was, right? Ran those touchdowns. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you.
So much. Okay. And if you want to sponsor a trophy and get your picture taken with the coach, there's a sheet over there for you to sign up. And for each game, you can choose whichever game you want. Okay? Okay, come back with the trophies.
We'll each hold one.
You can
Just You hold one. Okay, thank you. All right. Once again, and I want to announce that next week, joining us and joining Coach Colsey will be head men's basketball coach Patrick Crary. Very, very interesting guy, and we're looking for him to turn the men's basketball program around. I don't know if you all saw that 3 additional players from last season were added back to the squad. So I think it's a total maybe of 6 guys from last year's squad actually were retained. So our early reports were not that we got were actually not completely accurate. But one thing I like about Patrick Crary, when he was announced, my friend from Hampton called me and said, hey, when Hampton was at its peak, Crary came up here with that NAIA school and almost beat their butt. Hampton won by 2 points. So we have a coach that reminds me a lot of one of my favorite coaches. Reminds me a lot of one of my favorite coaches because he's come from a low resource institution. And we all know that that has an advantage of your mindset of how you do. He reminds me a very lot of Coach Gillespie, and I hope he has that success and better. So Patrick Crary will join us next week. Anybody needs any more information about NIL, Ashley is here. Please get this information. And I want to remind you that there are less than 20 tickets left for the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame, so we can see Lloyd and Ella go in this year. There are less than 20 tickets left. They've been moving at a record pace. We've never had this many tickets sold this fast. So half of them are people that Lloyd and Ella convinced from North Carolina and from South Florida to come up. I'm being funny. They've done a great job, and we can't wait to celebrate them for all they've done. All right, once again, join us next Wednesday, right back here for the 220 Quarterback Club. Thank you all for joining. Colonel, you got something? Come on, Colonel. All right. He's got for the good of the order, and we're going to cut this off. Thank you all for joining us online. Please make sure you contribute if you're online. Oh, and also we have a cake for Coach to take back to the staff commemorating his first win.